We're going to stay on top of this story. I'm Wolf Blitzer in the Situation Room. Up next, Lou Dobbs Tonight.
Thanks, Wolf. Good evening, everybody. Breaking news about Michael Jackson. Now, in the past few minutes, the Los Angeles Times and the Associated Press have reported that Jackson has died. CNN cannot confirm those reports, but earlier the entertainer was taken to the hospital in Los Angeles in cardiac arrest. Sources familiar with his condition told CNN that he went into a coma. Now, Kara Finstrom is outside Jackson's house in Los Angeles now. Kara, what can you tell us?
Well, this is the Bel Air home where he was staying. This is a multi-million-dollar neighborhood. He was renting this home. We understand paramedics came here, took him on about a 6-minute ride to the L.A. hospital, where, according to the L.A. Times, he has died. You can hear helicopters overhead, lots of media out here. The police have come out now and blocked off the street so that fans cannot continue to come up, but you can see that a number of people from the neighborhood have come up. Kitty, what we understand, though, is that his diehard fans, those that actually camp out, there's about 6 vans that we understand are camped out here every day, have moved to the hospital now to be closer to this pop superstar and to try and get the latest information.
Kara, what kind of people are you seeing here? Are they very young? What's the age demographic? I know he had universal appeal.
Yeah, we are seeing a little bit of everything out here today, and many people have actually brought out their Blackberries. They're texting the latest information they can to family and friends. Some people are taking some pictures, and I want to bring in a couple of the neighbors here who have walked over, and you've been hearing these reports from the LA Times that he has passed away. You say you've walked, through these neighborhoods, and we've got 2 generations of fans here. Tell us a little bit about your thoughts upon hearing this news.
It's very devastating to hear this. He was an icon, and he invented the moonwalk. He created the moonwalk, and I just passed on his dancing and his music to my children, and my daughter Chloe has danced to his songs, and it's just devastating, absolutely.
Chloe, I know you said you and your friends all loved Michael Jackson, and you actually did some dance routines to his music. Tell us about that.
At school, we would just we had a couple of routines that we would do to Thriller and a couple of his songs. And we just had fun with his music, and he would always put a smile on our face. So it's sad.
He was amazing. He was absolutely amazing.
Kitty, the sentiment that we seem to be getting over and over from people out here is they heard helicopters in the air, they turned on the TV sets, they heard this news, and they just couldn't believe it. So they've wandered out here to try and get some confirmation, and they're just kind of standing here in the streets, kind of in disbelief. This was a man known for his dramatics, known for theatrics, and they just can't quite believe that this is true.
Kara, for fans all around the world and throughout the country, give us a little bit of a scene set for where you are now, what his neighborhood is like, and are you seeing some of his neighbors actually come to this site?
Yeah, many of these people are his neighbors. Now, they told us, especially the 2 women we just spoke with, they were getting tours to go see him, tour tickets to go see him in London. They hadn't been able to meet him here in their own neighborhood, so that kind of gives you a feel for the exclusivity of this area. Lots of gates. These are multi-million-dollar homes. Lots of stars live around here. When we first arrived, there were still tour buses driving by his home. People, seeing all the commotion going on, kind of even leaning out of these tour buses, asking what's going on. Since that time, police have sealed off the area, but we did speak with one of those tour bus drivers earlier. She saw the commotion. She saw the fire trucks come out. She saw the paramedics arrive. She didn't actually see Michael Jackson being escorted out, but a lot of emotion here today from a lot of fans who also happen to be his neighbors.
All right. Thanks very much, Kara Finstrom, on the scene in Los Angeles. Now, as we reported, the cause of Michael Jackson's reported death was cardiac arrest. Senior medical correspondent Elizabeth Cohen joins us now from Atlanta. Now, Elizabeth, what can you tell us about cardiac arrest and its impact?
Right, cardiac arrest, sometimes people confuse that with a heart attack. They are 2 very different things. In a heart attack, the heart, it loses some oxygen. Some of the muscle loses oxygen. Sudden cardiac arrest, heart function stops. The heart stops working. And that's why with sudden cardiac arrest, someone needs help, ideally within 3 to 5 minutes. There's some really sobering statistics I'm going to tell you right now, Kitty, about cardiac arrest. Few attempts at resuscitation succeed after 10 minutes. And it's estimated that more than 95% of cardiac arrest victims die before reaching the hospital. Now, Kitty, I was on the phone with a cardiologist, and I said, gosh, he was only 50. What do you think? Is that young? And they said, no, 50 is not young for cardiac arrest for a man, and particularly not for an African-American man. African-American men have a higher rate of cardiac arrest than white men. Kitty?
Elizabeth, his general health, of late, he had the appearance of fragility. Tell us what you think about and what you're hearing from doctors about underlying health conditions and the survivability of cardiac arrest with those conditions.
Right. I wish I knew more about Michael Jackson's chronic conditions. Unfortunately, there's all these rumors, and it's hard to know what's true. But there is no question that if someone has chronic conditions, they are much less likely to survive cardiac arrest, which is extremely difficult to survive anyhow, even in someone who doesn't have chronic conditions. So if someone has chronic heart disease to begin with, or diabetes, or really any other serious chronic disease, it makes it harder to survive. Now, what we're hearing here at CNN, what we've confirmed, is that he is in a coma. That is what happens when the brain doesn't get enough blood. When the brain doesn't get oxygen, those neurons die, and people go into comas. I asked a cardiologist at Mass General, a doctor who teaches at Harvard, I said, what percentage of the time, when you've had patients with cardiac arrest go into a coma, what percentage of the time do they wake up after that coma? And he said a small percentage.
Elizabeth, we understand that he was training and attempting to put another production on, which had been delayed. What kind of training would a person be able to sustain if they had a weakened heart condition? Could this have brought it on, I guess, is the question that I'm getting to here.
Right. I mean, what's interesting is what I'd really love to know is did he have a weakened heart? Because you can have cardiac arrest without having had a chronic weakened heart. And if he did have a weakened heart, did he know it? I mean, many people, I mean, I've even heard statistics like a third to a half who have cardiac arrest had no idea they even had any kind of heart problem. So sometimes, often unfortunately, the first sign that you have heart disease is that you suffer cardiac arrest. So, or actually that you die. So certainly if you have a weak heart, doing intensive physical training can indeed bring on something terrible like cardiac arrest.
All right, thank you very much. Elizabeth Cohen. Thanks, Elizabeth.
Thanks.
Let's bring in A.J. Hammer. He's the host of Headline News' Showbiz Tonight, HLN. And for more, now, AJ, what was Michael Jackson doing in Los Angeles before he was taken to the hospital?
Well, we don't know what he was doing immediately today or in the past few days, Kitty, but we do know, generally speaking, that he was preparing for this major concert event, this undertaking he was going to be doing in London coming up this summer, originally scheduled for July, originally scheduled as a rigorous 50-show concert series. Now, when you're preparing for it, yeah, there's certainly a lot involved, and Michael Jackson's shows, and this was going to be no exception, are big, they're bold, and there's a lot of onstage activity. Michael Jackson, of course, very well known for his dance moves and for keeping the energy level at his shows very high. If we take it back a couple of months to when this concert series was first announced, Michael Jackson appeared at a press conference to let the world know that he was back, that he was doing these shows. And I remember remarking on my show that night and to various people here at CNN that Michael looked terrific, relatively speaking. You mentioned earlier that we're used to seeing him sort of frail. We saw him get up on that stage, albeit for a very brief time, and really show us that he certainly had the enthusiasm, he appeared to have the energy to take on this massive concert event coming up in London. Now, anybody who signs on to do any kind of a concert event of a decent scale is going to have to undergo a physical. Well, Michael Jackson, for something that inevitably was having millions upon millions of dollars poured into it, had to undergo a rigorous physical. A couple of months ago, there were some rumors floating around, Kitty, about the possibility that Michael was having health issues, that perhaps even he was suffering from cancer. That was one of the rumors that was out there. So we spoke with the head of AEG, that is the concert promoter who put together this deal with Michael Jackson for these shows this summer in London. At the time, back in May, the head of AEG told us that Michael was, in fact, in terrific health, that Michael underwent a vigorous physical exam, and that he came out with flying colors, and that before performing and going through with the concert event, he would have to undergo another physical exam. I'm not a doctor. I would have to imagine if there were some serious health and heart problems at that time, they certainly would have shown up in the type of exam that is typical before they will sign on the dotted line for a multi-million-dollar event.
AJ, considerable insight. Thanks very much, AJ Hammer.